Good morning. It is time to skip the BS. It's time for Undisputed. It's time to debate exactly how much all-time greatness was on display last night in the men's national championship game. Now, a year ago, I would have just referred to last night as the national championship game, but now that the men's game has taken a backseat to the women's national championship game, I feel compelled to identify last night's game as the men's national championship game. So in a few minutes, we will discuss that women's game that was the most watched basketball game, men's or women's, pro or college, in the last 5 years. And we will discuss exactly what will be revealed by tonight's Lakers-Warriors game. That's on national TV. That's a clash here in Los Angeles. And we will discuss J.J. McCarthy flying up NFL draft boards. But right now, I say good morning to Keyshawn Johnson and Paul Pierce.
Morning.
Here we go.
What's up?
All right. Let's talk UConn dominance. Last night, UConn suffocated Purdue 75-60 to win a second straight national championship. This time, the Huskies steamrolled through their 6 March Madness games by a record tournament point differential, never done before. So, Paul Pierce, exactly how impressive were the Huskies to you last night and in this tournament?
Well, that's very impressive. I mean, the numbers ain't gonna lie to you. I mean, obviously, when you average margin of victory is by 23 points a game, you have to start saying, where do they rank in NCAA history? Was it impressive? Absolutely, but it also told me how down the college game is.
Maybe, yep.
You know, I mean, I've never seen this before. I mean, why are they winning by an average of 23 points in the NCAA tournament?
So you think it's more about the lack of competition?
The lack of competition just wasn't there. I mean, didn't have the star power. I can't even tell you who's going to be a top pick as far as, did they even play against any top picks in the whole tournament? And so, I mean, while impressive, I will say that because of the college game being as down as it was like second nature for me to watch this game after what went on in the girls' tournament.
Yep.
So, you know, I kind of just watched it, eating chips, walking around the kitchen, whereas the girls' game, I was glued to the seat. You know,
I'm with you.
I was lollygagging around, but it was definitely impressive, especially when you talk about this team went back-to-back. So we have to start talking about, you know, where this team ranks as far as greatest teams at some point.
All right, we will get into that. Split screened it?
Split screened it. Dodgers.
You split screen.
Yeah, I had the split screen. Once the Dodgers went off, then I found something else to watch on the split screen. Look, it was fun a little bit because it was exciting just to see them jumping around and, you know, talking a little trash and whatnot, a couple dunks here and there. They didn't obviously have an answer for Zach Edey. He was dominant, you know, as a big. But Purdue, for instance, they only shot the 3 7 times in the entire game. It was 1 for 7. Where you look up in UConn was pulling it, they shot it 22 times. So it was almost like their game plan, Purdue's game plan, was destined to fail against UConn no matter what they tried to do. It just didn't, you know, you tried, at least I did, I tried to get into it as much as I could. But like Paul said, it's the men's game. It's somewhat watered down. There was no star power. I mean, other than the people, other than the pregame, halftime, and postgame show, that's where all the stars were at.
Yeah,
with Charles Barkley and company, that was the stars.
Yep.
And so,
heck, they even had Drew Brees on before the game from Purdue, so that was star power, and he played football.
And then you got a chance to see the former Purdue coach there and stuff. So it was kind of like, all right, I tipped my hat off to him, and I know what Paul is saying about the start to have this conversation about the greatest team ever in college basketball. I got certainly a couple teams that'll probably sweep the floor with them. We're going to get there.
We'll get there.
And so, in the end, I'm happy for Hurley. I'm happy for UConn. But in all honesty, Skip, it was not. You could just feel our energy this morning talking about that versus South Carolina and Iowa. It was just a different energy level, mindset,
or
excitement.
Iowa and LSU.
Or Iowa and LSU.
Iowa and UConn.
Or Iowa and UConn.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What I saw last night was extremely impressive relative to the competition in this year's tournament, because I can make a strong case that no team in any single NCAA tournament has ever been better than the field, and this team was better than the field, because I can just back it up with that point differential. So I can make a case that relative to the competition, this was the single most dominant college team in history. But to your point, and we're going to get to here in just a few minutes, if you start ranking it all time against all the other teams that won championships, it's going to suffer by comparison. But if you just look at last night, think about this. You did have the best team in the country against clearly the second best team in the country all year long, because Purdue, all year long, it was very clear they were the second best team because they had the first best player. They had a back-to-back two-time National Player of the Year in Zach Edey, who played like a Player of the Year last night. I mean, he threw up 37. What do you have on the boards? 10 or so? I mean, it was highly, 10 rebounds.
10 boards.
37 and 10.
Be nice for him to make his free throws.
Okay. Well, he's not that, and he doesn't shoot any threes, so he doesn't pose any threat like so many of the new NBA bigs. Even Chet Holmgren comes along, and he's stroking threes, and obviously now Wemby, now that he's got his legs underneath him, he's starting to make threes. So now the new wave in the NBA is 7 foot something who can take you outside and drain threes on you. Well, that's not Zach Edey. So I wasn't all that impressed with him, because what UConn did was they just said, you can have all you want, big dog. Eat all night, because all you can eat will be twos and ones, because you'll make a few free throws, but you'll make mostly twos. And I thought he had to work pretty hard against Klingon for his twos, but he showed me some footwork. He showed me a left hand. He showed me a little bit of a jump hook, which was pretty impressive.
I don't think he made a shot outside of 6 foot.
No, but that's who he's been. That's why he was back-to-back Player of the Year, because he was man among boys. And by the way, he stayed the whole way at Purdue. So I don't know, how old is he? 22 or what? He's
8-year senior.
Yeah, he's one of those. Okay, so here's what got me about UConn last night. UConn actually brought its B game. UConn didn't play very well last night, and they ho-hummed Purdue, because look what UConn did. They're 6 of 22 from three. 6 of 22. If I'd told you guys that at the end of the show yesterday, Paul wasn't here, but if I'd told Keyshawn, if I'd said, okay, I know for a fact that UConn's going to go 6 of 22 from three, you'd say, uh-oh, I smell an upset here, right? To your point, Keyshawn, the other team, the second best team in the country, shot 1 for 7. It's because they couldn't even get a shot off, because they got suffocated by UConn's guards defense, because UConn can flat out guard you from end to end, and they were all over them to the point they couldn't get a shot. I'm going to show you one. The only three that Purdue made was a Braden Smith three. And once upon a time, he's the Indiana Player of the Year. He's the high school Player of the Year. Here's at the end of the half, and he goes up, and it's highly contested, and he goes crazy. After he makes it, he goes running, looking to his like that was a huge thing that he finally made a three. And again, it wasn't a wide open three; it was a highly contested three, and he felt like he had won the national championship because he actually made a three. Okay, that's 1 out of 7. I'm going to remind you, Purdue during the regular season was second in the nation in three-point shooting to Kentucky. I don't know where that got Kentucky. It got them out because they lost to a 14 seed, but they were second in the regular season in three-point shooting at 40.4%. Well, help me out. 1 of 7 ain't exactly 40.4%. So they got up against 3 guards who 2 of them are going to play in the NBA, Tristan Newton and Stephon Castle. And then Cam Spencer is the classic college guard because he was a transfer from Rutgers. But he's just the classic great college player that you want on your team. I don't think he can make it in the NBA. I could be wrong. Maybe he'll find a way.
Hustle man.
He's a hustle man, but he's 6'4", and he made some smart plays, and he made some hustle plays, and he made a couple of nice shots, like up and under shots. And you say, okay, you know why? Because he's 24 years old and he's a graduate student.
Right.
So he's man among boys.
Another 8-year senior, huh?
Okay, well, there you go. But they're loaded. And then Caravan, I don't know if you've watched UConn, but I have all year. Caravan's going to be an NBA player, and he's 6'8", and he scored 5 points last night. He had a terrible game. He shot 1 of 6 from 3. And Caravan, I checked this out this morning, He had 8 games this year of over 20 points. What if he'd gone off last night?
Right.
None of them really went off last night. Tristan Newton had a nice game, but didn't have an all-time great